And New York City is asking for more help after accepting a second bus of migrants sent to the city from Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he is busing migrants to New York City in response to what he calls the Biden administration's open border policy. Now, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says the Texas governor is using these migrants as political pawns. ABC News contributor Maria Elena Salinas joins me live now for more on this. Maria Elena, thanks for being here. How did we get here, and what are the short and long-term consequences now of this?
Hello, Diana. Well, yeah, I think, up to a certain point, Mayor Abbott the mayor of New York is correct, because this is a political stunt. It's a political posturing by Abbott, claiming that he's doing this because of Biden's open border policy. But there is no open border policy. Remain in Mexico hasn't even been lifted yet, although the Supreme Court allowed the administration to do it. So Abbott is using them as pawns, and it helps no one, really. They were not going to stay at the border in Texas anyway, there are consequences. There's consequences for both the migrants and for the city of New York. Although it creates a logistical and financial problem for New York, this move also adds more insult to injury for these migrants. As we know, many of them have already endured traumatic experiences, that led them to leave their home countries in the first place to save their lives, and then traveled for months under a very perilous and very dangerous journey. And now they find themselves in unfamiliar territory with no support system. They are supposed to be sent to shelters, or they're supposed to be sent to different places around the United States to reunite with family members in the U.S. So, some were told they would be sent to their desired destination, and now they ended up as far away as New York, where most of them don't know anyone.
These migrants are being sent over. They're mostly asylum seekers. So what legal issues are they facing now?
Well, the migrants, you're correct. The migrants that are being bused to New York and to Washington, D.C. also are those who have already presented their asylum request and whose case, was deemed credible by immigration authorities. And now they have to await their day in court so it can be reviewed by an immigration judge. So this is not only an emotional hit, but it also creates a logistical nightmare for them. If they don't have a firm location, if they don't have an address, how are they going to receive a notice to appear in court? If they don't appear in court, they face deportation. They need to have access to legal representation, and being far away from any legal support system that makes it a lot harder for them to get that help. There's already many volunteers at the border that are providing that legal assistance that they so desperately need to be able to move along their asylum cases. Now they need to, either in Washington, D.C. or New York, find that kind of legal aid and make sure that they are connected to the system. We don't want the same thing to happen again that happened when families were separated at the border, where there was no record of where the children were, where their parents were, and how can you get in touch with them to be able to follow up on this.
Now, over 6,000 migrants have been sent to Washington, D.C. from Texas, as you mentioned. That's been since April. D.C. Mayor Maria Bowser has said that the city is overwhelmed. Now we have these two buses already arriving in New York. What does this do for these cities? You already talked about some of the impact on the people. What does it do for the cities that are receiving them? And you say that otherwise these people wouldn't have stayed at the Texas border anyway. So what alternatives does Texas have if they are feeling overwhelmed at the border?
They could send them to wherever the destination is. There's usually a plan, and because the United States has a legal authority, they have the legal right to request asylum, and the United States has the legal authority to, if they do accept their cases, to send them either to some of these shelters or to just ship them out to different parts of the United States where they have some kind of support system. It's usually family members. So for those asylum seekers that find themselves very far away from loved ones or a support system, now they're ending up in homeless shelters that are already overwhelmed. So Mayor Adams in New York, has been requesting aid from the federal government to deal with the overflow of people in the city's shelters, which it has not received. So, we do have to question, what is the federal government doing to deal with the increase in asylum seekers? Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas has been claiming for months now that they are ready to manage the situation, but there hasn't been no indication that they are ready. We don't know if it's a matter of funds or if it's bureaucracy, or if it's both. So for now, many of the asylum seekers that are being allowed into the country under humanitarian protocol are from countries like Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, where the U.S. has tense relations. They can't necessarily deport them. But when they do lift the Remain in Mexico policy, when that happens, things are going to get a lot worse, because there will be so many more asylum seekers to process. So there needs to be a plan in place. It needs to be soon. What are they going to do with them? Who is getting the funds? Where are these asylum seekers going to be relocated to as they await their day in court?
A lot of questions to be asked, and we know you are pressing for answers on all of them. Maria Elena Salinas, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.